Happy Friday, all. Hope everybody had a good week. It's been an interesting one. I will give it that. Poor Matthew here. He's been, struck by the COVID monster. How are you feeling?
I'm doing well. Still maybe a little congested, but most of the fatigue's gone, and still have a little cough left over. But was back to work this week and hiring new employees and keeping everything moving.
There you go. Yeah, no, I've had it twice.
Mm-hmm.
So, first time it was just a mild cold, and this was in 2020. So this was the first,
Mm-hmm.
and the last time just knocked me on my ass for a week. So I mean, had fevers of 103.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was bad.
This was technically, I guess, my second time. The first time I really didn't notice much of anything, and then this one I was pretty fatigued and congested, and had a cough, but I never had a fever, nothing. And what's funny is that my family never gets it when I get it, and I never get it when my family gets it.
Yeah.
But my wife and daughter will get it, and they're out. But for us, it's been really mild. My wife had a lot of fatigue that lasted a long time, but
Yeah. A little bit of long COVID there.
yeah.
All right. Well, I know you know, but we're going to go into it anyway. We're going to talk about where you think you fit in the spectrum of geek, nerd, dork. So, for those of you who haven't joined us before, and if you're joining us on replay, I appreciate you taking the time to check it out on your private time rather than live. I appreciate it because I know it kind of misses something when you do it replay style, but I'm glad you took the time. But for those of you that don't know or haven't been here before, we're going to talk about Don McMillan's Geek Nerd Dork. So, came up with some categories. Some person decided they were going to make a Venn diagram of it, and I appreciate them doing so because it saved me the time from doing it. It's 20 minutes of my life, and several screaming fits later, I would have been, been like, forget it, we'll just do it live.
Just do it live.
So, just do it live. So, in order to fit into the dork category, one must have an IIQ, and be socially awkward. In order to fit into the geek category, one must have a high IQ and have an obsession. If you have an obsession and you're socially awkward, you're generally construed as a stalker. Now, to move from dork to nerd, all one must do is get an obsession. And to move from geek to nerd, all one has to do is figure out how to become socially awkward. I'm not sure how you do that, but I'm sure if you were going from, if you started to do some light stalking, maybe you could get into the socially awkward section. Now, I'm not sure how you move from, downward, but
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that one, but we'll figure it out. So I guess what I'm asking is, where do you think you fit on it?
Somewhere between geek and nerd.
Yeah, we'll find out when we go through your collection, right? That's where we're gonna find out. Although I do appreciate that you brought in some other stuff to your collection, and it's gonna be some good stuff. And I think
Yeah.
people won't be surprised if they know you,
Right.
but the people that don't know you are probably going to be surprised. All right. So we're going to check in with the chat real quick. Say hey to people. They took their time to come in. So we're going to, whoa, wow. Okay. That's a lot. Okay. So there's Nolan. We are now official YouTube. Nolan has showed up. Digital Diarrhea. What's up? Hey, wait. You're doing double duty? I wasn't aware that there was double duty tonight. Yep. Terrence St. John, you are correct, sir. Nolan is here. It is official. How unchain this guy from the basement and get back to being a mod? Yes, Lawrence, freedom. Red Black is here. How you doing? Ed is here. What's up? Happy Friday to you, sir. Down South 77. How's it going? All right.
It's great to see everybody.
Kiwi Customs and Collections.
Nice.
How's it going? Wow. Everybody's loud talking and talking. Uh-oh. Wait. Who's in the middle? What? Oh. Okay. He's admitting to being in the middle, and Terrence St. John has confirmed that he is a geek. So good. Well, we have established some things. There we go. So, yeah, I know you know, and I know the audience doesn't know. Some people are new here. So, one of the things that I do is I use my toys as a way to manage my stress in life. I think a lot of us do with our hobbies in and of themselves. Um, but what I specifically focus on is play. The reason I do that is because there is a direct correlation between a playful state of mind and being in play in a longer life, healthier brain activity. There's a ton of positive mental health aspects of that. Um, really, really. Oh, Allison. No, I haven't. No, we haven't let any alarms out. No, and we have not. Thank you very much. There's Happy. What's up, Happy? Happy Friday. All right. So I'm going to define a play state. I do this for everybody, even though you've been here before. You know, I know you watched. You've probably seen it several times. But a play state is anything that you do that provides a sense of enjoyment that you're absorbed in and allows for suspension of a sense of time. Given that definition, when was the last time that you played?
I feel like I play a lot. I feel like I play most of the day. Uh,
Okay.
uh, Even at work, I feel like I'm playing because I have such good rapport with all of my employees, even the people that just started. Um, we have a good time, and we engage a lot in fun ways, and it makes the day go by, and everybody feels good. Even our patients and everything, they enjoy it. They get in on it too. It's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I try to take time every day at home to play because I've got I'm almost 50 and I've got an 8-year old, so I've got to find time for that, and then I have to find time for just me.
Yeah.
And so there's a little bit of play in all of those states, I think.
So, when you were a kid, what were your favorite ways to play? Did everything have to go together? Could it be separated? Was it all you had to build it all up and then was there any chaos? Was it all organized? I'm curious.
I feel like it was pretty organized chaos. Um,
Okay.
uh, Everybody played together, but everybody had their roles. Um, I mean, I had Sky Commanders and Starcom, and oh, hey,
Hi.
um, and so I'd be setting up zip lines and having those guys go down, but then they'd be interacting with my GI Joes, even though they weren't the same scale. Scale didn't matter to me. It was about the play thing, and He Man was always Rymar from GI Joe in the cartoon
Okay.
episode. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
scale wise, my Fisher Price, my Legos were always involved, and then I also had constructs, and so I build
Oh yeah.
bunkers out of my
I remember
constructs,
those.
and put everybody behind those. Um, or I'd build stuff out of Legos for them, vehicles and stuff like that for my GI Joe. So I was doing that built to rule before GI Joe did.
Or it's just busting your chops. So,
Of course.
do you remember? I want you to think about playing as a kid. Do you remember how that play made you feel?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a different form of escapism from any other nonsense that was going on. And I mean, I played with other kids, but there's also a lot of internal monologue going
Mm-hmm.
on in my play.
Your head
Um,
cannon.
yeah, and the stories that I was telling, and the ways I engaged with everything. um I always dove real deep into minutia of
Okay.
everything. From the cartoons that I watched specific cartoon shows because they provided something interesting. And like the GI Joe cartoon for me was one of those things that every episode had something interesting, factual, even if it was so outlandish, like a giant gelatinous blob that's devouring this countryside that you defeat with apple seeds because of the poison in the apple seeds and
Hmm.
the acid that's in there. Stuff like that
I
fascinates
learned
me.
DNA from Arise Serpentor Arise. I didn't know about DNA before that.
Exactly.
So I
Um,
mean, there was some nuggets in there, right?
and so I sought out play that was engaging like that, that stimulated my brain to think about things, storylines, all that kind of stuff. And then I put that into my toys. And my dad bought a video camera. So it was a high eight video camera, or eight, whatever the tape was.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how to use it, so he let me play with it. So I figured out how to use it, and I was making action figure home videos.
See, and
uh,
that's where it started, right? That's where it all started.
yep, yep. That's what led to me going to film school.
So I want you to think about those feelings. And when was the last time you kind of had those feelings as an adult?
uh, a little bit all the time when I'm doing my photos. I shoot every day, and I love setting things up. I love coming up with the ideas, scouring my past history, my comic books, my cartoons, and looking for things to inspire me to do the next action figure pose. Probably one of the most fun, engaging projects that I did was the recreation of every panel of issue 21 of GI Joe in action figure form.
Yeah.
That took me that probably took me about a year to complete, as I had to find the pieces and parts from all over the place because they didn't
Oh yeah.
exist yet.
Yeah.
To try and create the sets and do some editing with Photoshop, and you know, but it was a project that I loved doing, and it was a great sense of accomplishment when I got it done. And I want to do more, but it is so time consuming that I just have to set aside that time and focus on something like that.
And there would be a lot of custom figures that would be needed for a lot of the other issues. Let's be honest there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so hang on, got a cough. My cough has been lingering for about 30 days now. So
Oh
and it,
yeah.
it was just crud. It was just the crud. So um, who won the most battles? The good guys or the bad guys when you were a kid?
I I don't remember having battles per se. I mean, I did. I know I did, but it's like I don't know. I would assume that the good guys generally won in most of my battles.
So now I want you to kind of compare your childhood playing with your current playing, and what have been biggest differences between playing with your toys as a kid and playing with your toys as an adult?
Good night, kiddo. Um, Cooler special effects. I get to visualize and create things on the screen that I couldn't do as a kid. Uh, Not just digitally, but with physical props that I make and stuff like that. Um, that I didn't do a lot as a kid because uh, I didn't want to. I didn't want to tear apart my model sets, and
Hmm.
I didn't have an outlet to figure out some of this stuff because the internet really wasn't around
Yeah.
then.
No, I think that's made a huge difference in in my thinking about customizing it. I don't, I wouldn't. when I started collecting again in 2022, you couldn't have told me that I would be customizing figures or building dioramas. I would have told you, you've lost your damn mind.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it. It's how I manage, it's one of my other ways to play with my toys and manage my stress and all those
Yeah.
other things.
Yeah.
So you kind of mentioned Sky Commanders. What were your toys as a kid? Give me your top three that you had, toy lines.
I had a little bit of just about everything that came out in the early to mid 80s. Um,
Black Star?
the what's that?
Black Star?
Yep, I had Black Star, Brave Stars, Sky Commanders, Air Raiders, Battle Beasts, Muscles.
Jason the Wheeled Warriors?
Yep, had a bunch of those. Those guys were so cool. Um, just a little bit of everything, really. Um, my biggest collections would probably be Lego, GI Joe, and Masters of the Universe. Um,
Which
I
one would
could,
you rank first?
in my mind, it was always okay. Lego GI Joe, Lego GI Joe, Lego GI Joe. It would always go back and forth, and I try to always put them together. Um, the He-Man stuff, I really don't know where that came from because I was never a big fan. But I kept getting the toys, and my friends had the toys, and yeah, okay, that was cool. My friends would get them for me, but I always gravitated towards GI Joe for a lot of reasons. My dad, he worked for NASA in the '60s and '70s. He's an educator. He's written books upon books upon books. He's written this definitive history of the Soviet space program because we went over to the Soviet Union in the '90s, right? So we got to do a lot of interesting things, but he was the one who got me the Sky Striker and the Dragonfly, and those are the things that no, I didn't have that, punk. But the Sky Striker was just one of those key pieces for me and my dad to connect on because of aviation, because he was a master flight instructor, and I got
Hmm.
my pilot's license when I was 16 because of all this stuff. And so the aircraft were huge for me, and having the Dragonfly and the Sky Striker were just a bonding moment with my dad, kind of.
Well, and they were cool toys. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Very toyetic toys. So, did any of your choice toys from your childhood make it to your adulthood?
all of them.
You got them all still. Wow.
I don't have them all still. They all made it with me to adulthood. Um, I ran into some hard times and I sold everything besides GI Joe. A couple of He-Mans, a couple of Transformers, maybe. I don't know. There's a couple things here and there, but yeah, I sold all my Centurions. I had all of them. Um, Sold a lot of the other stuff that I could sell that somebody would actually pay money for, because it was rough time for a while. But I
Yeah.
always held on to my Joes.
Um, uh, unlike someone we didn't have nine shipwrecks. I had one. I know you probably had one, maybe two, unless your parents were in the Navy, and then you got nine.
Then you got nine. Yeah, nine, nine, nine.
Nothing like the Swabbies, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, uh, are there any of those toys that you've gone back and tried to get?
No. I guess probably the ones that I probably regret the most getting rid of were my superpowers, but I kept my Batman and my Joker, and I'm good with
That was
that.
all you needed.
Um, I, I I will probably go back someday and get the '89 Batwing from the Toy Biz line that they had.
Okay. Yeah.
I really regret getting rid of that one, especially with all of the stuff that's out right now.
Yeah.
Um, if I had had this Spin Masters Batmobile that they have out now for the 1/18 scale,
Hmm.
it would go perfect with that Batwing. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna shift a little bit, and let me pull that up. I gotta, I have all these desk toys in front of me, and normally they're not an issue, but I can't see the bottom of the menu, and I got to be able to see the menu in order for that to come up. Oh, so we're gonna be like that, are we? Where you at? All right, there we go. Come on, come on. There we go. So we're going to start off your collection a little bit differently. We're not going to be focused so much on toys as we are just in general about your collection. Now, this is all of the compendium book kind of things, right? This is which one is this one?
This is the Dan Klingensmith's
Okay.
creating GI Joe. He started with the 3.75 line. Then, when he officially got licensed by Hasbro, he changed it to just creating GI Joe.
Okay.
Yeah, I had all those and all of Carson's original art books, which I didn't send you pictures of, but that's fine. It's
Oh,
just
that's
part
fine.
of
I
the
mean,
idea. Yeah, and then I have, in one form or another, I've got floppies and collected editions of just about every GI Joe comic book in the Marvel run, the Devil's Due run, the IDW run, and the current Skybound run.
I just
Um,
have the only thing I have from Devil's Due is the World War III trade paperback. I
yeah,
enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
I like some of the earlier stuff too when they did Image before they switched it to
Yeah.
DDP, and they did the Return of Serpentor. I thought that was a really good little mini series. And that infest.
I like a lot of the IDW run. Not the Larry Hama one, but the other one. I like the way that they were trying to introduce Cobra, and it was really relevant to today's kind. If you're going to make a Cobra, that's how you do it.
Yeah, no, the Chuck Dixon, Mike Costa run on GI Joe from Origins to the main line of the Cobra book is phenomenal, and the it gets overlooked a lot because everybody talks about the last laugh, but Christos Gage and Mike Costa did a scoop story in the middle there, which is fascinating. I don't know if you've read that one or not, but
I
he's
have not. I read up to Cobra Civil War, and I kind of once once I see Chuckles take out Cobra Commander, why he
yeah.
says "Yo Joe," that right there is enough of a moment. Hey, your camera fell. Enough of a
Yeah.
moment for me to go, I don't need to go past this, because I read a few of the issues of Cobra Civil War, and then it was just getting like ridiculous, kind of. And I
Yeah.
really didn't, for whatever reason, they took some characters and they could have done more with them, but they didn't. And I
So
think it was a missed opportunity.
I agree. I mean, they could have developed that a little slower burn, maybe let it play out a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But the third Cobra miniseries, because it was only supposed to be one miniseries, and it was so popular, they did the yearbook, and then the second miniseries, and then another yearbook, then a third miniseries, and then they made it an ongoing series after that. So the third miniseries was all about Scoop, and his job was to infiltrate this cult called the Coil,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
find
that
out.
was Serpentor's cover, right? Yeah. Okay.
And so Serpentor was the high priest, and they worshipped Globulus, and it was all this, the cult of Cobra, the religious wing of it, and he ends up going insane and committing suicide.
Wow. Yeah.
It's
No,
really
I might have to
dark.
read that one, just because I think it was interesting how they just kind of they segmented it, and they made it more amorphous, and really, to me, if you're going to make them scary, they're not some guy sitting on an island doing things from
Yeah,
the island. They're everywhere,
and then
and
the
it's
other
an
one,
insidious kind of thing.
exactly. Yeah, and then the other one there, Infestation.
Yeah.
Um, Infestation is where they combined all the books from the IDW, and
Okay.
told an overarching story with all the different brands. The GI Joe side of it is awesome. The first one is has Raptor in it, and makes him an interesting character because it had zombies. And it was an interdimensional thing that crossed all
Yeah.
the platforms with the Baroness. And then the next one was a Cthulhu thing with Crystal Ball, basically trying to summon Cthulhu and using all of the people in the Cobra Sanitarium, all the crazy Cobra guys, like
Yeah.
Big Boa and all
Yeah.
the whack jobs that are in the sanatorium.
Yeah. It sounds interesting. I'm gonna have to check it out. I mean, there was I loved how they built it up. I love that like their computer data was liquid and they could remotely deactivate it. That's some scary shit when you think
Yeah,
about it.
yeah,
That to me makes them scary.
yeah.
Not the laughing cackling kind of thing.
Right.
I always hated how Cobra Commander was kind of portrayed in the um, cartoons because he's
Yeah.
not an idiot. No one would follow an idiot. I'm sorry.
Well, and then if you read the Origin series, the last part of the Origins IDW series, they talk
Hmm.
about the psychological effect of cognitive dissonance. The
Yeah,
last bunch of issues is about that, and how the people are actually recruited into Cobra, and it puts people in these categories, numbered categories from 0 to 8, and where you fall on a leadership scale, and how one number can influence all the lower numbers, but
yeah,
usually can't influence a higher number. But the wild
yeah,
card is that 0.
yeah, yeah.
But that's
It's just
it's
it's interesting how there's that disparity in how he's always been portrayed. I
yeah,
I always think of if one they're gonna have to be charismatic, one they're gonna have to be scary. I
yep,
mean, if you're gonna make him a big bad, you're not gonna make him incompetent because then he just like the Joker. He's not stupid.
right,
He's just crazy.
yep. He's just a crazy dog chasing the car
Exactly.
and doesn't know what he's going to do if he catches it.
Exactly. He is. So this is obviously is this a replica prop?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a back behind it. It's a bad picture because it's old. But it's those are all the Farscape comics.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and then some magazines from back in the day with Ben Browder and stuff. And then that's the Pulse Pistol from that show, which you have another picture of. That matchbook that's in front there.
Hmm.
We used to get press passes and go to see movies, and so we saw The Watchmen, and they passed out blue condoms in matchbooks with the thing on it there. So that's a leftover from that. And then that's the manga Sanctuary, which is another fascinating story about two sides working together from opposite ends, the mafia and the yakuza, the government.
All right. Now this is the just the regular IDW run here, right?
This is no, that is the original Marvel run of GI
Oh,
Joe.
okay.
So
I just
those are
I can't see which one it is. So
yeah, those are all of the hardbacks that IDW ever released. So it went up to 70 something, I think.
oh, that's
Um,
not. That's only
it,
halfway.
it's only halfway, but it's all they got to before they stopped, and it
Yeah.
was because books 7 and 8 have a bunch of errors in them. They're not too bad, but they're kind of annoying. Um, and then they stopped doing it, I guess, because people weren't buying them or whatever. Um, but yeah, and then that's the Cobra Last Laugh hardcover up there, and
Hmm.
some Larry Hama origin. So that's all Hama writing there,
Okay. You got some
and
more.
so is that, and then you've got the field manuals from the cartoons, and that giant comic book over there on the left is
Uh-huh.
a reprints of like 150 and 155 and something else, but they're like giant size. It's awesome. And then those are
Interesting.
Carson's original softbacks there.
Hmm.
And then that is again all of the entire Marvel run, and then the current trades beyond that in the IDW Marvel there, with my favorite GI Joe character right up front there, Storm Shadow.
Yeah, yeah.
And Gary Goggles there, Sightline.
All right. So these are Hamas, but
No, those are Ninja Turtles.
oh, those are Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
Okay, I thought
Yeah.
you said
So
those were Hamas earlier.
no, those are the other books. Yeah, this is the first 100 issues of the
IDW.
IDW Ninja Turtle series written by Tom Waltz and Kevin Eastman, which is again the best run of Turtles. And then beyond that, there's some of the original Turtles that are up there too.
Yes, yes, I don't, Lawrence, at all. If it was going to be culturally appropriate, it should have been samurai.
Correct. Yeah, because ninjas didn't really exist, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, I know. There's a whole weird dynamic there.
Yep. Yep.
Nothing like American. We gotta
Oh
we
yeah.
gotta we gotta take it and mutilate it.
Well, no, it did actually start in Japan with the comic books. Yeah. But that's why I love Usagi so much, because these are
Yeah,
actual Japanese parables told in comic book format. Uh,
yeah.
really great stuff written by Stan there. I have a bunch more of the Stan stuff now than I did in that picture, but
Where'd
no,
the
that
jumbo one come from? Is that
oh, that's just one of the playmates that came out at one time. My wife
okay?
picked that up for me. She said, "Hey, looks cool."
Yes, Kenzo is telling us I heard Lawrence loves sailors. Yes, he does. He loves them so much,
So much.
so much. Now this is cool.
Now, these are some
Again,
very rare books.
it's different. It's
Yeah.
different than what I usually get. So I kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah. So these are very rare books. You probably can't find most of these without paying a whole bunch of money. And these are my karate instructors, jujitsu teachers. Um, wrote them Tatsuo Suzuki, Toby Threadgill. And then that one blue and white book there is a reprint of a 1935 book that has
The mind
oh,
over muscle,
no, the one above
or
it.
the one up.
That one, yeah.
This one,
Um, no, the one above that. Yeah, that
that
one right
one.
there. Yep.
Okay.
And that one's got it's a reprint of a 1935 book that has the founder of the karate style that I do, um, training with a founder of another style, and subsequent printings of that book removed all reference to the founder of my style because he split with them.
Uh,
But you can't separate what he contributed.
yeah.
And then that book over there on Musashi is one of the most fascinating books on him because it has every piece of writing that he ever wrote translated or that was written about him. And it's put into context and timing to give you a better picture of, hey, you can judge for yourself. Was he a barbarian or was he a genius? And
Yeah.
obviously, it follows somewhere in between.
Hmm.
But it has all of his writings, not just the Book of Five Rings. Not just some of his poetry that we know about. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's just a lot of cool. It's interesting and it's different.
Yeah.
And this is another one of those interesting and different.
This is a piece of family history that goes back to, uh, well, I mean, the story starts in 1917. um, so my great grandmother did something that someone of her era just didn't do. She took her daughter and left an abusive husband and moved out to Iowa all by herself. And she raised my grandmother. And at some point, um, this woman and her child were dropped off in the middle of a town in Iowa with nothing. She had married an American serviceman. The American serviceman dumped her in this town and left.
Nice.
And the only person that would talk to this woman was my great grandmother. And she took her in, and the kid put clothes on their back and fed them and got them so that they could function on their own. This was the only possession that they had left. and they gave it to her. And it's still in my family, and my mom still keeps in contact with their family, and we have a fairly good relationship with them still to this day. So this is a deep piece of family history and the testament to the strong women in my family.
That's cool. That's cool. I was wondering what it meant. I knew it was something important because he wouldn't have included it, but it also was kind of prominently by itself, unlike a lot of the rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
So I knew it was an important piece.
I didn't know if I was going to get
Now,
through that story or not.
you got through it. You got through it. We almost got the tears. Everybody was waiting for the tears. You're getting there. So, okay, the top sword, is that the Princess Bride blade?
So it is it is, but it isn't, because it was the first attempt that somebody had tried to make. It's a little too large, it's a little too heavy, but yes, it is the sword design that was encrusted in jewels and goldified for the six-fingered man that he killed Inigo Montoya's father for. It is one that a friend made and that I used in combat in the SCA, as that is what's called a Schlager blade on there, which is as close to a rapier without actually stabbing somebody, with a rabbit
Yeah.
blunt on the end, so I can stick people with it and it's okay.
And of course, the rest of your sword collection.
So the top one is a real sword that I got for my black belt test in karate. The second one is another one that I bought that's also real for practice with jiu-jitsu. The third one is one that my instructor had specifically made with furniture from our style. And so the top three swords are real. The next one is the Highlander sword from the movie. And the one below that is the Highlander sword from the TV series. And obviously not real swords. And then the bottom one is a hand-carved wooden bokken that I picked up in Japan when I was there training with my instructor. And we each got one of those that we could find. And at one point, we were riding bicycles down a hill, swinging the swords at each other in Tokyo, in this little tiny town in Japan.
There could be nothing bad that happens with that possibility. No, it's endangering lives. Now, here's some more prop stuff. I thought it was cool. You have an original phaser. Okay, I don't recognize this gun.
Oh no, terrible
I
person.
don't.
That is Malcolm Reynolds' pistol from Firefly.
Oh, for Firefly. Okay, yeah. Okay, now it makes sense. I was thinking Firefly, but I wasn't sure.
Yep.
So I didn't want to make. Okay, and this is another Batman, right?
Nope, that's Farscape. So
Is it?
that's the same pistol we saw earlier. Well, that one isn't. The one that's in the holster is the one that was in the picture earlier. But that's a handmade leather holster for the gun, and that's the pulse pistol from Farscape. And then do you know what that one is?
No, I do not.
That is
a PP.
Yeah, it's a PPG from Babylon 5.
Okay. But yeah, no, I liked Farscape, so yeah. It was an enjoyable show.
Yep. So that
kind of went off the rails toward the end, but hey. Kind of what happens.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I wish they had gotten their last season that they were promised, but
the
miniseries wrapped things up, and sort of. And the comic books helped with some of the other stuff too. But I love that show. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good show. So we're getting into your main part of your collection of figures, anyway. Obviously, this is like everybody crammed on a shelf. We're doing a readout. Everybody's getting told what to do. You got your leaders here.
Yep.
So you're missing you need to put like Beachhead way over to the side. He's like fifth in line, right?
Well, and honestly, if I was doing it right, Stalker would be up there, but I did it by actual kind of ranks that they had. So, but Yeah, that's I mean, a lot of these are, kind of whatever. I'm really classified is the reason that I collect 6-inch action figures at all.
Hmm.
Um, I really didn't start collecting 6-inch action figures until 2020. And then I know you're gonna love all this, all my ninjas. Um, but that
Is
that
okay. I was curious about the center. Is that Musashi?
yes, it is.
Okay, I
And
thought so.
yeah.
I was like, I don't want to say it. I do find it interesting that you have Nightwing at the back. I was curious about that as well because that's
hey,
odd,
hey,
honestly.
I'm
But you do
having
have
fun.
Foosh Ninjas in front, so I can't really say much, right?
Right. And then who's over there on the far left side of that next to Scarlet there?
Next to Scarlet,
Yeah. Oh no,
uh,
sorry, not Scarlet.
Black
Over on the
Widow, isn't
yeah,
that
Black
Solid
Widow.
Snake?
Who solid yeah, Solid Snake.
Solid Snake, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, I was just like, this is interesting. And that head on the snake eyes,
Yes.
is that a custom?
Yeah. That's a Toy Box Customs head from
Okay.
Resolute. That's the first Resolute head they did. I don't like the second one as much. The first one is about perfect in my opinion.
Yeah, we're gonna go through a lot of this stuff. We'll get through some more ninjas. But I do like that you have these are the veteran Williams, right?
No,
Really?
those are cool models. Those are a whole lot
Okay.
smaller than Veteran Williams. They're really
Yeah, I've
cool.
seen those.
I didn't have a good picture of all of my werewolves together, but this one had most of them because we've got the creature replica in the back, the two cool
Hmm.
models, and then the Kessler wolf from NECA. I'm a big werewolf fan. It's
I
my
love the American Werewolf and London Wolf. That one
yeah,
looks great. It does.
yeah.
If I had space for it, it would be in the collection.
Oh yeah, that Kessler wolf was nice. But yeah, I did had that, and then those are the blue ninjas with some Marvel Legends ones, but those
Yeah,
are all
with
the
some
blue ones.
Winwoo and
And Death Dealer, yeah, but they're blue. They're the
the
same color blue, so they all match.
with the second not Mandarin.
Mm. Yeah, I can't call them that apparently. Whatever.
Yeah.
And there's my reds.
So I see you repurpose that mask somewhere else.
So I put a first class Charles Xavier head on him,
Okay.
and then put the mask on top of that. And sometimes I'll put the Hardmaster Zartan mask on him,
Hmm.
and so he'll be the Hardmaster. But
I
yeah,
mean that works. I mean, and for a long time, those hand ninjas.
hmm
I mean, you could buy a ton of those.
yeah, I got quite
Cheap,
a few.
cheap.
I got quite a few of them. I never really liked them very much. They were so gummy. They didn't pose real well.
Yeah,
The Foosh ninjas posed better, but I wanted as many of the red Cobras ninjas as I could get.
yeah. Now
I
here's Timber and Timber and Timber.
I got a thing for wolves, werewolves, wolves. Pack mentality, alphas. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just love them. This one represents my more modern obsession with troop building. I
yeah,
like building squads, um, and just having four of a given squad or so to make it so I can fill it out in photos and make it look like a dense, crazy
yeah,
battle
yeah,
between a faceless, nameless soldiers.
yeah. And honestly, the red. I love the Crimson Valley Vipers better than the orange ones. I do.
Uh,
I didn't think I would, but I do. I like the way they look.
they're sleek,
My only gripe is the guns. I change the guns out anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
right?
Um, the Arsenal of Pew Pews has these great bullpups that are red that are just they fit perfectly in with him. I mean, I can
Nice,
show you.
nice.
Let me pull me up here a second. Come here. Go back over to the other side. There you go.
Oh wow, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that.
So it's like a perfect color for that one. All right. So,
Nice.
but yeah, no, I love those guns. I do like the gargoyles here. You got a lot of gargoyles. Now,
Yeah. Go ahead.
how far into that line did you go though?
I don't have Thalog.
Okay.
I have everybody else.
Okay.
I only have one Steel Clan at the moment. Ideally, I'd like two more. But no, I was amazed when this line came out, and my daughter loves that show so much she wants to rewatch it as much as she wants to rewatch Avatar and Scooby Doo and Batman the Animated Series,
Hmm.
and now X-Men. She's been loving the '90s X-Men cartoon, loves it. But Gargoyles was just one of those things, and I wasn't completely sold on the line with Goliath and Demona.
Hmm.
Um, but when Bronx came out, I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, no, this line is good. I have been having fun with Xanatos lately. Yeah, they've just killed it with this line, and I love the property. Um, yeah, no, it's just good storytelling. It's good
Yeah. I've
characters.
got all of the gargoyles. I got Demona. I don't have Angela. I just kind of stuck with that. At some point, I'll probably get Xanatos and the Steel Clan just to have a bad guy. But I mean, they look great. They're just space eaters.
Yeah, I love the folded down wings. I do like the hair dryer technique to let the wings kind of droop and
Mm.
fold. You can fold them a little bit, but yeah, no, those wings are giant.
Apparently, my name twin says that I do need the armored Xanatos. Yes, at some point I'll get around to getting him.
The
I
suited
don't think he'll
Xanatos,
be going out of style anytime soon.
yeah, no, the suited Xanatos works really well as a background character or just a suited bad guy.
Yeah, exactly. Got the smirk of a bad guy, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Here's your X-Men.
Yep.
Now, is that Colossus Legends or is that the that's the
I,
two pack
yes,
Colossus?
everyone in there is a Legends. Well, maybe Cyclops is, and I'm not sure, but I only have a couple of the Mofex ones. Um, but I love that cartoon. I love the X
Hmm.
Men, and I I I, I want to get the Mofex Gambit, but I don't know. But uh, it, cool storylines, cool figures.
Yeah.
Always wanted him as a kid, never had him as a kid, so that was kind of like reclaiming some childhood there.
Well, I mean, realistically, when you're roughly my age, when we were kids, what were the Marvel superheroes you could get when you were a kid? Let's be
Yeah, I
real
mean,
about that. You could get this. You could get the
the Secret
Secret
Wars.
Wars ones, but there weren't a whole lot of X-Men in that line.
No, it was just Wolverine.
Yeah.
You had Spider Man and Captain America. I still have my Captain America from that line.
So you kind of miss out on that. I mean, Toy Biz kind of filled that in the '90s, and
Hmm.
I got a lot of those Toy Biz, but I can only have so many Wolverines and so many Cables before I'm just like I'm done.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, thankfully, still getting the Wolverines with Legends, but I'm not buying Legends anymore. So unless something
yeah,
comes out that I have to have, like the X-Men wave that had Quentin Quire and had Chode and had Corsair, yeah, I'm gonna get those because those are characters that have personal meaning to me
yep.
because my love
I
of that particular IP.
I need a Ileandra. I need that one that's coming out. I need a Sabretooth. I don't have a good Sabretooth, so that two
Yeah,
pack has to be on my list because they haven't made a proper Sabretooth, and this one looks like it will be. So
yeah. So it's tempting, but I'm not willing to put the $50 on it. So
yeah, yeah,
it just to me
understandable.
that the whole Legends move, a lot of the stuff for Legends moving to two packs is I think it's gonna hurt him.
I
And
think so too.
to me,
Um,
it seems like they're just like, we'll just throw it together in a two pack if we got to figure that
yeah,
like
the,
no,
the the Legends team and the Black Series team seem to be getting lazier and lazier.
Yeah, I'm just not a fan of 2 packs.
Yeah.
I don't mind them once in a while, like the Tiger Force one. Yeah, you know, you don't have to have that one.
Right.
That's the trick.
Yep.
I'm okay with it because I need it to fill out my dio. So I'm okay. I need a roadblock. I'll take him with the Modus, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
So this is your aliens. Your extreme sets. I can
Yep.
see that,
Yep.
and your alien queen in the background. That's cool. It's a
Yeah.
good, cool shot.
This is a representation. I have some 1/18 scale and 1/12 scale aliens. These are Leonard aliens.
Yeah,
These are the $10 aliens that they're putting
cheapos.
out. Yeah, and I just dyed them um, so that they looked better, and then you light them different, and
Yeah.
they're cheap and they're background and they're sick.
You know what? I'm all for cheap. Clearance is your friend.
Yeah. And then I took a little chrome pen and I chromed their teeth to make them a little extra shiny. But yeah,
Oh,
you can
yeah,
see that I didn't paint the queen or dye the queen, but the other ones and the blue one I didn't do that. But the runner and the drone, the regular drone,
yeah,
I dyed because the regular drone was white. Um, and so he had to be darkened, but it brought out the detail on their skulls so much when I
yeah,
dyed them. I was like, this is perfect. I love
yeah.
it. It's awesome.
And sometimes dye does that, and that's the fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is your turtles. You got the IDW ones in the center,
Yep.
and then you
So,
kind of got movie ones on the outside, and the movie Splinter.
uh-huh. So these are all my favorite iterations of the Turtles. I love the IDW 100 issue Turtle comic run.
Hmm.
I think it's one of the best Turtle storylines that they've ever done. I love the 1990 movie live action Turtles. Those were my Turtles because that most represented the Mirage Turtles at the time too. But in live action form is amazing. And then the 2012 Turtles, the animated ones, I think
Hmm.
that series is great, and my daughter loves it too. She fell in love with Donatello, with Leonardo. She, from ages 2 to about 6, Leonardo was her boyfriend. Now
I
she's
remember
more
those days.
now she's more of a Donnie girl.
Yeah, well, mine's 25. She didn't really have a boyfriend that was a TV screen person. But here's your Universal monsters.
The first cross movie storytelling that was ever done in cinema, because they're all connected and they all tell their own stories, but they all
Yeah.
tell a collected story. And the Wolfman, in my opinion, has the greatest story arc of all of them. Now, this was before I had the Invisible Man and the Bela Lugosi Dracula and that kind of stuff, or the Wolfman, because I'm using my creature replica werewolf there.
Hmm.
But these Jada figures are amazing. This was the first venture that they did into action figures, and I thought it was phenomenal. I love all of the monsters that they did, and
Yeah.
now with the Street Fighter stuff and
Yeah.
the Mega Man and the brand figures that they have, they're all awesome. But I love
I mean,
the
who would ever
monsters,
think we would get a Chester Cheetah figure? I mean,
right? No kidding. I love the passion that those guys at Jada have, and I love what they're doing, and I would love to support them as much as I can. And I love the heck out of these monsters because they're more toyetic, they're playable, they're better than the NECA ones in my opinion because
hmm,
of that.
yeah.
Because you can move them around, you can play with them. They've got great articulation, they've got great sculpts, and you can do a lot of stuff with them.
Here's your Bucky O'Hare.
Yeah,
Now, this is the more recent one, right? This is the Boss
yeah,
Fight Studios ones. Yeah.
yes, yeah. I never had the Bucky O'Hare toys as a kid. I knew what Bucky O'Hare was, and I liked it even as a kid. I mean, I knew it was Larry Hama, and I was connected with Larry Hama on some level because I really loved Nth Men and GI Joe and Bucky O'Hare, and Bucky O'Hare is him and his partners. They own it. They published it themselves. They completely own everything that is Bucky O'Hare. So they licensed out for the video game. They licensed out for the action figures. They've licensed out for the cartoon that they
Hmm.
did, and but they retain all of the main property rights to it. And so when Boss Fight got that, I was like, "This is awesome!" And it took me a long time to get into it. Um, and then I finally got this Toad Stormtroopers on clearance, because I just had other priorities and couldn't bite the bullet when they were out. But I finally
Hmm.
got some, and that's when I put them all together and said, "Hey, here's my Bucky O'Hare collection." That four-armed Deadeye Duck is an amazing piece of engineering that Marvel Legends had to finally dissect when they made their Spiral.
Yeah. This is an interesting one. Okay, the Joker I'm not placing. Is that Moff X or not? Because the
every
rest of it
fig
looks like Moff X.
every figure in there is Mafex from the Hush line. These are all of the Hush action
Okay.
figures.
I don't think
Um,
I've ever seen the Hush Joker then.
yeah. So this is all Jim Lee art, straight from the comic book Hush, and that is my favorite version of Superman right there. Um, since then, I have Poison Ivy and the black and gray suited Batman, um, and those are all of the figures that have come out for the Hush line so far.
So far.
No,
Yeah.
the diving Batman one, the
Yeah.
Halo jumping Batman one. I don't
Yeah.
have that one because he was in literally one frame of the entire comic book, and I'm like, no, I don't need that one.
Now, this was an area of your collection that was kind of after my heart because Moon Knight's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, I love
Moon
Moon
Knight
Knight.
and Daredevil. I like the street level guys, and obviously I like Daredevil or Moon Knight because he's a mental case.
Yes.
I have a history with um, one mental illness and have a history of studying it.
Yeah.
He's a fascinating character to
He.
function in the way that he does.
Yeah.
Now, ideally, it's none. DID is extremely, extremely rare.
Right.
Even more so than they publicize it, and the likelihood, a lot of the documented cases on it are not. It's come out after the fact that they were faked.
Right. Yeah.
So, but dissociating is normal. So I can get to that point. But he's just fascinating as a character. I mean, you
Yep.
never knew, as the comic went, you never knew what he was going to get.
Yep.
So,
I love the original comic book run. I love the Chuck Dixon run. I even love some of the current stuff, the McKay stuff that's been coming out, up until what they just did. But anyway, the characters,
yeah,
the character is awesome. I love the
he'll be
character.
back. It's not,
Oh yeah, I know. But
nothing.
and then I could never decide on which version that I like the best. I don't really care for the Mr. Knight
Really, I
persona.
really kind of like that iteration. I thought it was different enough.
It is different enough, but I go back and forth on it. I do have actually a KO version of him also, but he started to yellow real bad, and I didn't want to put him in the picture. Um, but all the uniforms,
Yeah,
I don't like the Moon Knight TV show at all, but the costume's pretty cool looking, and
yeah,
especially with the Khonshu that they did there, I thought that was
yeah,
interesting. And then the two Marvel Legends, the Mezco, and then the Amazing Yamaguchi.
yeah.
Um,
The Amazing Yamaguchi, it's just the articulation looks so weird. It really does for me. It really kind of puts it off footing because it
so
looks more robotic.
I know what you're saying, but with Moon Knight in particular, I think they did a really good job of hiding the shoulders and the elbows. They're not so bad there. The lower body's fine, in my opinion. It's a little thick, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
And I've never, this is the only Amazing Yamaguchi that I've ever gotten. And I did it because it looked interesting enough that I was like, okay, I could do some stuff with this.
Yeah.
But all of the other figures that they make, they don't fit the aesthetic that I normally like. So I know what you're saying about that articulation and stuff.
Yeah, I can imagine that they don't necessarily photograph well, especially if they've got gaps and spaces. All right, and I think that is everything in your collection that you sent me.
Yeah.
So, do you kind of focus your collection in a way on established franchises, or do you kind of foray occasionally into new stuff?
I'm all for the new stuff. I like new stories. I've always liked new stories, but they have to catch my interest.
Okay.
Um, so I got heavy into Valaverse when they were doing comic books. I mean, I have um 53, 54 Valaverse figures, and I enjoyed the comics as they were coming out. I enjoyed the figures as they were coming out. Things change as we move on, and
Yeah.
I don't plan on getting rid of them because I still like the characters that I have. And if there's one here or there that I like, I might get it. But it's kind of fading on me because
Yeah.
there's more stuff that I want from Classified. There's more stuff that I'd rather spend on Mythic Legions or Savage Crucible or something that's different, that's interesting.
It's scratching a different itch.
Yeah, I'm a big Conan fan also. I know there wasn't a lot in there because I couldn't find the right ones to put in there to have a collection picture, but Red Sonja and Conan and Cthulhu Mythos, Solomon Kane, Robert E. Howard, and Howard Lovecraft. Really mind bending opening storytelling, creative ideas coming from those guys. And so I love playing in that universe as well. And to see so, and that's the only reason that I got into Savage Crucible a little bit is because like, oh, Conan needs some lizard men to fight.
Yeah. Oh, it didn't just that. He'll also need, you've got a Cthulhu with the um what is it, Abyss. I
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
have I pre-ordered him. I
yeah,
pre-ordered Jaeger, him, and of course Frazetta um homage.
yeah. I wanted to get some of those Frazettas, but they're a little expensive, and so I kind of missed out on some of that so far. But
Yeah, I didn't go crazy with it, but then I had to go back and get a like one of the, it's not quite the slate because those were sold out everywhere, but I got the one that's just above that where it's
mm-hmm.
just there's some paint apps on it because I'm going to be using that for custom. So,
Right, yeah.
you know,
But I'm
should have just
excited.
got it when I,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I wasn't thinking a year ahead I'd be doing a custom with it. So,
right.
it's one of
I
those things
love
where,
that there's so many new toy makers coming out there and doing something different, trying to tell a different story, trying to come up with a hook, a niche, something to catch your interest.
yeah,
Um, all of that stuff fascinates me because again, I love the storytelling. And
yeah,
it's the one thing that Classified is missing right now is that Lenny's got all these great stories, but he's not telling
they're all
them
in
to
his head.
anyone. They're all in
Yeah,
his
they're all in
head.
his head. Yeah,
Yeah. And they can tell some of it with packaging and artwork and stuff, but they need to get some kind of story catch out there. And that's kind of the difference in the generations, right? So
yeah, it
like,
is. It's we're used to being, for lack of a better word, we were spoon fed media.
yeah,
Nowadays they're, it's shoved down their throat for a week and then
it's gone.
long gap. So between that long gap you forget a lot of what, you know made it interesting or what enticed you, unless it's just so great that you watch it over and over and over.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I don't think that pattern hits for very many people.
Yeah. ADHD and all this other stuff that's going
Yeah,
on. People aren't as focused on it, but in the days of serialized storytelling, um, it serialized storytelling is fascinating because it engages the brain. This is why the binge model ultimately fails.
yeah,
Because if you have a story that's released once a week, you get one piece of the story for a week. You get to watch it when you get a chance to watch it. Now we don't have a appointment based program watching anymore,
yeah,
but if you do watch it right when it comes out, and then you watch the next one when it comes out, you have a full week to digest, process, imagine where these characters are going, what they're going to do. You get to have discussions about what you think will happen, and you get
Yeah.
excitement built around it, and then boom, the next one comes out and you get to see what happens, and then you get to discuss that and where do they go from there. And that kind of storytelling really stimulates the brain into conversation, into imagination. And so I prefer not to binge things
Mm,
because of that, because I want to digest what I've got. Otherwise, it's disposable candy. It's useless.
mm. It's. I think there's that. It's that change in that dynamic for us, especially those of us who are our age.
Right.
We got used to that slow, and it's okay for us.
Yeah.
But for my son's generation, my daughter's generation, it's like, no, I just want to watch the whole thing and I'm done. And I can get both sides of it. I
Yeah.
do, and I can see it from both perspectives.
But
Um,
yeah, I just think the binge misses a whole portion of that sinking into the brain
yeah,
and
it
hooking.
does. It doesn't. You don't have to. Well, it's like, here's the problem: is unfortunately it may be all there to binge at one time, but it's written like old style. Television hasn't evolved in the writing end of it in storytelling to make it to where it's not, well, it's great that there's a 2 second, lapse in this cliffhanger.
Right.
At what point does that it loses its impact as a cliffhanger
Yeah.
because of the binge style?
Yep.
So it's one of those interesting things where when you see something where you can tell where they were going to plan a commercial for it,
Yeah.
and you get a plan that doesn't have commercials, and I'll pay the little bit extra not to have to watch 20 million commercials sometimes.
Right.
But you can tell where the storytelling was that way because that's how it was when we were kids. You'd have this cliffhanger right before the commercial, come back and resolve it quickly right before the next cliffhanger for the next commercial, and then come back, and then we'd have the end of the story.
Right.
That dynamic has kind of changed and been lost, and
Yeah.
but that they've still kept that nuance there, and it doesn't hold that impact.
Yeah.
It's like when you watch when I watched I have the GI Joe series, the first one, and I have it on DVD, but they have the bumpers on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredibly annoying.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I don't need the commercial bumpers. That doesn't help the experience. Now, if you had 80s commercials, absolutely put them in there. I would be all for that. That would be fun.
Yeah.
That would be fun to have those 80s commercials in between it.
Yeah.
That would be a blast. Just so I could see all the stuff that, oh, I remember this, I remember that. Those would be cool. But yeah.
There's an entire channel that puts 80s commercials on YouTube.
I know, but I'm just saying
No,
if you're
I know,
gonna
I
have
know.
that bumper,
Yeah.
that's what needs to be in there. Is
Yeah.
worst case scenario, put your own damn commercials in there.
Right. Something.
Yeah. But okay, we got a little off track. We'll cut back. So when you decide on a figure, does the community kind of have any impact to that, whether or not you get a figure?
I think so. Yes. Um, I'll put this. I mean, I watch a lot of YouTube videos um, about a wide variety of subjects, but I'm almost always listening to something from YouTube somewhere on 2x speed.
Mhm.
um, and so if I consider a figure like it's not an oh yeah I have to get that. If I'm considering it, I will listen to discussions about the people who are making it, the product itself, the storyline behind the product. I want to get the full picture, dive into that minutia like we talked about earlier. You
Yeah.
dig in deep to all those details to find out: do I want to A, support these people? B, is this a product that I think will come out? C, do I think it will meet the standards that I need it to meet to be fun, to be
Yeah.
playable, to be photographable, you know? So yeah, I do think that the community does affect. And I will watch 16 videos on a review of the same action figure.
Well, that yeah, I don't know how much. It really depends on if it's something that if I'm not familiar with it, I would do that.
Yeah.
If I am familiar with it and it's one of those ones that's kind of an ancillary line where I might occasionally pick up one of the figures, then I don't have, I might watch one or two just to see if, if there was concerns that I had with the first figure, like, something didn't fit, joints
Yep.
didn't work right, felt a little bit weird. I had to play, had to play with it with the kid gloves instead of the,
Yeah.
adult meat mittens. So,
Yeah.
so have you continuously collected, or was there this thing that brought you back, or what was the kind of pattern for you as an adult collector?
Uh, there was a few years in the early 2000s, maybe, that I might not have collected stuff. As a kid, it was, hey, birthday presents, what the parents would get me, whatever. When I started using my own money, it was all on GI Joe. Um, and then when I was end of high school, early college, I was going to the game stores and picking up McFarlane's, Metal Gear Solid, Final Fantasy
Mm,
VII. I was trying to find those things out there that were comic book stores. I'd be going to comic book stores and I'd be buying miniatures to paint for just because I wanted to paint them.
yeah,
I loved BattleTech and D&D and all that stuff, and I played those games and I used those miniatures for that. But honestly, I buy miniatures just because I wanted to paint them, or I buy
yeah,
model kits because I just wanted to put them together and paint them. Um, I was never good at painting, but I still loved doing it. And there was a point that I got fairly good at painting mecha anyway. Um, but there was always something that I was out there collecting that was, what I was interested in at the
yeah,
time. It was never it was almost never a trendy popular thing. It was never pogs, it was never Funkos, it was never anything like that. It was always, hey, do I have a connection to this somehow?
yeah,
Power of the Force, when those big buff action figures came out, I still wanted them because they were Star Wars action figures.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's what a lot of us that once we got there, I can remember I got my adult money and they brought out Star Wars action figures. That was where it started, and then I got to get all those vehicles that I never got as a kid.
Yep.
That was the thing because I'm an adult and I have adult money, you know, and yeah, I can get an AT-AT if I want a damn AT-AT.
The thing that made me dive hard back into it was the 25th era GI Joes. When those started coming out, I said, these are freaking amazing. Even when they weren't, they were
Yeah,
amazing because
yeah,
of the sculpt. Even if they weren't, toyetic or very playable, it was like the sculpts were awesome. And I felt like I had to go back and get the ones that I couldn't get as a kid. And then that just kind of evolved and snowballed into the collectors club and going to Joe conventions, and Joe cons and stuff like that. And then when that was ending, I'm like, okay, well, I've got all this boss fight stuff. I've got all this Marauders Gunrunner stuff. I've got all this GI Joe stuff. Now what? And then Classified came out, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I want to see where this is going to go.
mm,
And then I started paying attention to some Marvel Legends, and I started paying attention to some other things that were the 6-inch line. And I'm like, okay, this is neat. This is interesting. I can do some interesting things with this. And then I'm like, I want to photograph these. Oh, now I have to get sets. Oh, now I have to get lighting. Yeah, it,
slippery sloping right
it,
there. I see how it goes.
it really
I,
was. And
I'm right there with you with that slippery slope because at first it started out with just I'm gonna be collecting.
yeah,
So within a month, I had all of the classified that were available to be released, even paid premiums for two or three of the figures. Then I found 25th, 30th, 50th Pursuit of Cobra. I got all of the figures that I wanted from those lines. That was about 5 months in.
wow.
And of course, that was during that huge lull.
Mm-hmm.
of nothing coming out from anybody for the most
Yeah.
part. So that's when I started doing Legends again. Now my Legends, I stopped, but I focused it primarily originally on X-Men, and then it snowballed to Fantastic Four, snowballed to Hydra, and it's just like, no, this is a never-ending suckhole of money loss. So
Yeah.
I had to
Yep.
kind of take a choice in my head. I had, okay, got to take a break. And then, of course, McFarlane, you could always find those for, $5-10 at Dorkside Toys. So, I can't tell you how many of those I bought at $10 a piece.
Nice.
And then I had a little dalliance with Valiverse there for a while, and that's gone. I don't need it anymore. I wanted it to fill out my ranks, and now that Classified is ramped up, I don't need it. So
Yeah.
that's why I tried to sell most of it. And what I didn't customize, I got sold for the most part, except for for whatever reason, nobody wants the troop builders.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, those things have been collecting dust.
Oh.
But yeah, no, it's always interesting where we go with our collections. Um, so in thinking about your collection, what's your top three of your current collection?
Oh.
Top three lines.
Lines. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Classified's number one. Um, Moth X Hush is number two. And I don't know. I mean, Mezco's been killing it a lot lately, but there's only certain ones I want to get of those. So I might have to go with NECA Gargoyles.
So, what is it about toys that makes them the place where you go as a hobby? What is it about a toy that makes you say this is what I want to spend my free time doing?
It's the imagination. It's the storytelling. It's what I saw on screen as a kid and comic books and turning it into my own stories. Creating my own little vignette of some kind of idea or concept or something. I'm like, oh, this would be really cool if this happened. And taking those characters that I love and know so well
Mm-hmm.
and putting them in a situation that is different. What if they met this character? What if they went on an adventure with this one? What if they fought these guys? And telling stories.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
So, in order to make it into your collection, you got to have rules for your collection, right? Because otherwise, this shit can spiral out of control pretty damn quick.
yeah.
So, what are Matthew's collection rules? What are the things that say this comes home, this does not?
It has to mean something to me. Um, on some unconscious level or conscious level, it has to have some nostalgia or
Okay.
some creative purpose to it. If it doesn't fit a need for a creative purpose or a nostalgia thing, then I don't need it. I don't care about it.
So, are there any things in your collection that stay in the box? Is there anything that I buy it, I want to stick it just in the box because that's how I want to display it? Is there anything in your collection that makes it that way, or is everything out of the box?
And unless it's a duplicate or a really rare piece that I'm proud of, like my declassified GI Joe O-ring with comic book,
Mm-hmm.
um, they've all come out of package, even if they go back in the package. Um, I had to take them out one time and play with them, but I have a big pack of Final Fantasy VII figures that came out. They're pretty much statues. I mean, they're minimally posable, but I had to take them out at least one time just to set them up and see what they felt like. But they went back in the package and they're up on the shelf. Um, unless it has some purpose to be kept in package, everything comes out of package.
So, is there anything that you don't do with the toys that you have now that you would like to do?
If I had more space, I would set up and keep my dioramas up. I have to set them up, tear them down, set them up, tear them down, put my figures in boxes, take them out of boxes, depose them, set them up, put them back in boxes. I don't have shelves or display cases of my action figures um, because of that, because I'm
Yeah.
always changing sets and photographing them. I would love to have a set displayed area for a lot of them. And, I do for some of my stuff, like my Starship models and stuff like that. I have all those set up because they're pretty static and I don't really photograph them much, but I set them up. But for my action figures, I would love to be able to set them up that way and take them out piece by piece. But at the same time, I know how much I use them and want to set them up for stuff. So I don't
Yeah.
know if that's really feasible. But to have the space to do that would be nice. And that's the limiting factor right now.
So you kind of said that the lore of things kind of influence your collection in a way. So what if the lore changes in a direction that you don't like? Does that kind of affect your interest in the line?
It can, yeah. Um, I let's say things sit for a while. I may be reactionary at first. I tend to be very opinionated, as some people like to note. Uh, um,
Opinions? No, there are none of those here. You have no opinions.
um, but sometimes I come back around to it, and it sits in, and I like it. Some things I never disliked from the beginning, and some people railed against it. I'm like, well, just give it some time, let it burn, let it figure out where it's going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I have very little interest in Marvel Legends unless they're old comic book versions of the action figures and there's something new about it or special about it that
Yeah.
makes me want to get it. If it's cell shaded, I don't want it. Yeah.
Yeah. I just break out the Windsor Newton when it's cell shaded. It's not that hard to take off.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So what is it about a figure that you say this is the figure that I want? Now, there's some figures in your collection that, not everybody would figure out to get, right? And so what is it that you look for in a figure when you're browsing?
A lot of aesthetics, a lot of, hey, what can I do with this figure? Can I pose it in a way that's going to be dynamic for the photograph I want to take? Does it have the detail that I need?
Yeah.
Is the paint going to rub off if I play with it? I mean, that's a concern. Does it have the articulation I need for what I want to do with it? Or does it just hit a niche? I mean, I've got this guy sitting in front of me because of the movie we did last night. He is not the most posable figure. I wish that he had better articulation, but I had to have him in my collection.
Yeah.
That's John Nada, and I wish I had a Frank figure. I need a Keith David for him to
Yeah.
have fights with. So not all of them are the best top of the line figures that I have in there,
Yeah.
but
You could have him do a suplex in the middle of a cement walkway. I can't imagine how that felt. My back hurts just thinking about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, now, what was the question?
There you go. You make me laugh. So, what draws you to a figure is essentially the question.
aesthetics, what I can do with it. Does it have? Do I have a connection to it? Um, is it something that looks like something I want in my collection? Is it aesthetically pleasing enough for me to put in my collection? Is a big part of it. And then also, how can I photograph it? What's it going to do? Does it serve a purpose in a storytelling? Do I need it narratively for something I want to do?
So, and speaking of aesthetics, are there any vintage lines that you would like to see be redone with modern aesthetics?
Starcom.
Oh, interesting.
I,
I can only
I
imagine how big those ships would be, though.
well, I mean, you could do it 1/18 scale,
Yeah,
and it would work pretty well at 1/18 scale. Um, I, I I have a love of early sci-fi
yeah,
stuff, and Starcom is, it's 80s sci-fi still, so it has some realistic aspects to it because they hooked up with NASA and they did some spacesuit designs and really interesting things. But even 60s sci-fi fascinates me, and I love the aesthetic of it. There's a board game that I play called uh, oh, I forget it. Anyway, it's a starship. It's a starship combat game, and basically you have starship to starship combat, but then you have boarding parties, and then you get into PvP character battles
hmm,
inside the space rocket ships and ray guns is what it is. That's what it is. Um,
interesting.
and it's all 60s aesthetic. And boss fight originally, the next figure line that they were going to do after they did the Greek stuff was this 60s sci-fi aesthetic stuff, and they never done it. I don't know if the interest dropped off or what, but it piqued my interest. I would have been all over it. But I may be one of a few people that wanted it. And that whole idea just disappeared, and I haven't heard anything about it in a decade now, or I don't remember when they started, but yeah, something like that.
So, you obviously have a diverse collection, but an important question is why toys?
I'm from the 80s. It's commercialism. It's tangible. I have 1,600 DVDs, Blu-rays. Physical media is something that I have a passion for, because you can't just edit it. You can't just change it on the fly. You can't put up censorship warnings. You can't extend the hair on Splash so that you don't get to see her rear end when she's running naked into the water.
Yeah,
You can't just change these things on the fly. It is the way that it was supposed to be represented. And as an art form, I think that's incredibly necessary. That it is of its place and time and must be respected about that place and time. And so, physical
yeah.
media,
I
tangible
missed the
things.
video games when they actually had to complete them before they shipped them out.
Exactly. How
You know,
ridiculous is that?
there was no editing on the fly for that. If it didn't work, it didn't sell.
And then it ended up in a landfill with all those
Yeah,
ET games.
exactly.
And so, yeah, it's the tangibility. It's I have 6-inch retro Snake Eyes. I have this in my hand. I can do something with it.
Yeah,
It's real on that level, right? On the imagination level, um, it goes back to the ways people think and communicate, right? Are they verbal? Are they visual? Are they tactile? Which
yeah,
one is their primary? And I've always been all of them. I need all three of those things to connect.
yeah,
And that's why martial arts was such a big thing with me, is because you had to do all of it to teach it, to do it. Um, and same thing with the toys. It's like I can touch it, I can smell it, I can move it
yeah.
around.
And I can create headcanon in my head for it, right?
Yeah.
So we all have toys in our collection that we regret at some point. Either we regret because somebody put it on sale for half off later and you bought it at full price, or you buy something and then you think twice about it later, like, why did I do that? Are there any things in your collection or any time that you had that buyer's regret or remorse with a piece of your collection?
I can't say that I have. I mean, there's stuff that I wouldn't buy again, but I don't think I regret buying it to begin with. Um, I mean, there are better versions of figures that I wish that I had, but I got the ones that I could get. Um, I guess maybe the one might be the Mezco Moon Knight, if I thought about it, because I love that Moon Knight figure, but the articulation sucks, and I love the pieces that he came with, but he doesn't have ankle mobility. You can't pose him for a darn. I mean, you can,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no wired cape. It's just you can put up the special stand and put wires from the stand into the cape to help fold it or fly it or whatever, but it's not a wired cape.
Yeah.
And so I think they made a lot of mistakes with that design, but at the same time, the photographic aesthetics, the way you can light that figure, if you
Mm-hmm.
get the right kind of posing, is still
Yeah.
awesome. So it has that kind of value. Um, but I really can't think of something that I got that I'm like, no, that was a waste.
So, along those lines, do you ever experience any burnout with your toy interests or any interest in general? We all kind of go through those periods where it's just like, yeah, yeah, I'm done for a while. I gotta take a moment, because even our hobbies, when they become more of a job, so
Yeah,
whatever it is we're doing, when we take that mentality that should be relaxing and it becomes something that's active instead of passive, we can kind of get that burnout. So is there any time where you've kind of experienced that burnout?
maybe. Um, I don't think it lasts very long. Um, I've been in a holding pattern for a little bit because the end of the year last year was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
um,
Ugh, God. Ugh. That was
and
6 months of pain right there.
yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot. So I've kind of, pushed back on it a little bit, and I still have pre-orders coming in all the time that I pre-ordered forever ago. Um, but right now I'm kind of like, I don't, I don't need to buy anything right now, so I'm good holding. I wouldn't say burnout per se because the I get overwhelmed sometimes,
Okay.
um, because I have so many options. Um,
Analysis paralysis is what you're saying?
yeah, and so it's like, I want to go back and I want to shoot some more X-Men stuff. I want to get those figures out because my daughter's been loving the TV series, the cartoon, and I want to come out and shoot some more of those. But I've got Snake Eye Saturday. I've got Moon Day Mondays. Or Mythic Mondays, or Mofex Mondays, or whatever I want to do on Monday. I've got my collab groups that I'm in. That I'm like, okay, on Sunday we've got this to do. On Wednesday we've got this to do. And so I set up photo shoot schedules as far in advance as I can, and I'll take those. This makes some people mad, but I will shoot if I have a schedule. I will shoot those schedules 2 months in advance of when they're coming out.
Yeah.
And so I'll have those photos and I'll send them over or whatever for that. I want to get ahead of the game. I don't ever want to be the person that somebody's waiting on.
Yeah.
So I want to get that part of it done. That's just who I am. So there's that kind of commitment that I have that I want to do these things. But I guess I had a little Moon Knight Monday burnout because I was doing Moon Knight Monday for 2.5 years straight. And what killed it was a TV show.
And,
And
and that's one of those situations where they kind of fudged with the lore, and it kind of, for some people, it left a bad taste.
And what brought it back was the re-release of the black and white Moon Knight that I didn't get a chance to get when it first came out, and then the Amazing Yamaguchi Moon Knight. And I'm like, okay. And then, I had to go get this thing. I don't know, you
Little
might have
moon
seen it.
spear. Yeah.
Yeah,
Light up moon spear. Yeah.
I got that thing, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah. There you go.
And so I got reinvigorated with doing some more Moon Knight stuff. Um, so I don't know. I go through phases, ups and downs, lulls, and whatever. But analysis paralysis is probably my biggest stumbling block because there's so many ideas that I have in my head that I want to get out, but I got to have the time to do it, and there's only
There's
so
only
much
so much. Yeah.
time.
Yeah. There's only 24 hours in a day, contrary to popular opinion. You can't really give more than 100%. Because
Right,
100%, that's 100%.
right.
So the reality is, you got to pick your battles, and you got to choose what at the end of the day. But it does sound like you're in that structured kind of, it has to go this way, this way, this way. So yeah, I can imagine. So along those lines, is there ever a time that you see yourself not collecting? What do you think that would look like for you?
No. Um,
You'll be the old man in the nursing home collecting action figures.
I'll be collecting something. Like I said, I've got this physical media collection. I've got a store collection. I've got a rare books collection. I've got action figure collections. I've got firearm collections. I've got lots of different collections,
Yeah.
and
So
and
you'll be
it's
collecting something to
uh,
make to fill the time.
there will be something. Yes. I like collecting stories. I like collecting anecdotal tales, personal stories about significant events in people's lives. It puts a perspective and puts a spin and puts a connection to an idea, a person, a place, a thing. It allows you to connect on a human level to a lot of different people.
Yeah.
Um, and so
I do this.
ultimately, it's about the stories.
Yeah.
I love stories because they are parts of our lives, they're parts of our souls, they're parts of human nature, and they define the era that we're in, who we
Mhm.
are, where we're going.
Yeah.
And if we analyze these things, we can predict or see what's coming in a lot of ways. And so the more stories we have, the more enriched we are as people, and the more we can connect with one another.
Mhm. And those stories remind us of our shared experience.
Yes.
Um, I think a lot of there's a reason that I ask most of the questions I ask are fairly consistent across all of my toy therapies. There are some questions that I'll ask that just come up as we go, but I do that because there's themes that are starting to show up. And they
Mm-hmm.
started to show up within the first few episodes, and they started to see, the connections of all of us
Mm-hmm.
and how each of us, this particular medium of toys, shaped us, and also how we use it to manage the day-to-day things.
Mm-hmm.
It gives us an escape. It gives us, something that's ours that no one can really take away. This is
Right.
ours. I mean,
Yeah.
a fire could take it away, but we would still have toys.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's kind of I won't want to say it's an identity, but it's a facet of us where we can touch on those things that we had as children and still play with them as an adult. And it's not, we're in a time where it's not as looked down upon. Yeah, you might get a few Snickers here and there, but overall, the reality is most of the people don't understand what goes into what we do.
Yeah.
It isn't just, going out and buying something, and, like for you, it's you sit there and you spend who knows how long trying to get a figure to stand there long enough for you to take a picture of it, right? And in these dynamic poses that do things.
Yeah.
People don't understand the amount of information or amount of project that goes into a diorama or doing a custom figure. It's there's an artistry to all of that, and there's a different kind of feeling when we do those.
Yeah.
Um, so we're getting toward the end, and I have a couple last questions. Obviously, my last question will always be the most important question that I ask. Um, but the second to last one is kind of the magic question for everybody that does anything, and this is more of you know wishes and dreams and fantasy. For collectors, we have two things that are our primary enemies: space and money. So if space and money were not an object, were not a barrier for Matthew, what would you collect and why?
I would get everything from the original A Real American Hero line. I would find my way into getting the prototypes, the two ups, um, every released figure and playset. I would have every single thing from that original line.
That's cool. Even the foreign the fun schools,
Yep.
the Plastorama.
The Brazils, the fun schools, the Japanese. Yeah, I'd get
I
them
love the
all.
Japanese cards. I really do.
Those
I
cards are amazing, aren't they?
They look great, and even the boxes for the vehicles are great too.
Yep.
Just the way it looks aesthetically is so cool.
So I mean, maybe some have heard this or not, but what a huge influence on my collecting and the patterns that changed over time was a man some people knows as Gary Goggles Head, Gary Head. Um, between my interactions with him, I got to trust Marauders and Boss Fight and got involved with them, and Dan Klingensmith and Carson Metaxas, and it all branched from my connection and understanding with Gary and getting into
Hmm.
the artwork and all that stuff. But he really kind of changed my idea about things in 2014 when they brought out the original prototype of the 3 3/4 inch GI Joe that had not been shown to the public before. And
Yeah.
they brought it out and they put it on the table and they said, "Hey, come look at this. Don't touch it, but you can look at it." And it was a Buck Rogers Tiger Man action figure with sculpting compound put on top of it to be
Hmm.
a GI Joe. And I looked at that and I said, "This is amazing."
Yeah.
And they had two ups at their booth and they showed what they looked like and stuff, and seeing all that behind the scenes stuff really, and then meeting all the people that year in 2014 at JoeCon was just that boost, that injection of passion that I needed to
Yeah.
like really fall back in love with the brand and everything that it was about and what it represents, um, and really kind of change my thought process on all of it.
It's interesting that we find those things in unexpected places. I would not have imagined that I would be in the community that I am. Um, if you had told me that any of this would have changed from 2022 to now, I probably would have thought you were crazy. But the reality is I find myself surrounded by good people
Mm,
who try to do the right thing and it's an interesting dynamic. Um, and we all do this thing called toy collecting, which it's strange, right?
yeah.
It's strange to find friendships and you know reinvigorated joys and happiness in a little plastic 6-inch figure. It's weird. It
Yep.
really is strange. It's surreal in its way.
Yeah.
But I find myself more and more appreciating just hanging out with people,
Yeah.
whether it be on a Friday or a Saturday or you know with my son, I don't get that opportunity to go out and
Mm-hmm.
socialize. It's a whole other thing. So, and the
Right.
fact that right now I will probably be going to Joe Fest,
Mm-hmm.
so it's going to be something different for me. It'll be the first time in 14 years that I have been away from him.
Mm.
So, it'll be a little bit of a gut punch for a while, but
Yeah.
I trust the person that's going to be caring for him.
Yeah.
They've earned it. They've put up with it for a while now, so
Right.
they're willing to do it. I'm willing to let them. Maybe I can get to hang out with all these people in person, which will be a little bit different than hanging out virtually.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so. But with that, we're to the final question, which is, of course, the most important question, because everything that I do is about finding joy. So, what did you find joy in today?
Uh, Everything. I mean, today was a great day. I mean, we had troubles at work and stuff like that, but it didn't matter. We were having a good time. I enjoy my staff, the way we engage. I enjoy my patients, the way we engage. I enjoy coming here and talking with you. I enjoy having my daughter come home and playing with her for a little bit tonight and going through some of her homework and acknowledging her accomplishments for the day. I enjoy spending time, with my wife and watching a little bit of TV, just relaxing. Um, I enjoy thinking about what I'm going to be doing next with my snake eyes photograph that I have to take tonight. uh,
Yeah,
I,
it's
I I try to
you
be
know what?
grateful.
It's only 10:15, so
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, it's early. Um, I tend to only get about 5 hours of sleep a night anyway, so it's all good.
If I
Uh,
got 5 hours of sleep, you wouldn't want to know me.
I try to be grateful every day. I try to be thankful for the things that I have, the life that I have, the people that I have in my life.
Yeah,
Um, and if I didn't have that gratitude, I couldn't do the things that I do,
yeah,
for sure. I couldn't be the person that I am, or have the family that I do. I always want to do more. I want to stretch myself even thinner and do more.
yeah,
And so my wife helps me reel that back in a little bit, because I want to help people so much, and that's why I'm in the profession that I'm in. That's why
yeah,
I do the things that I do.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think that sense of gratitude, um, goes a long way to keeping that joy in my heart, that playfulness in my heart, to engage with everybody on the level that they're at, but at the appropriate times, still being able to have fun, to be a kid,
yeah,
to
yeah,
engage.
exactly. So let's tell these people what you got going on aside from Snake Eye Sunday
Saturday.
or Saturday, whatever
Which
day it
is,
is.
yeah, just a
You
few
could,
hours. Yeah.
isn't it Cobra Sunday or Sunday? It's Cobra Sunday,
There
right?
is a Cobra Sunday, but that's also
Yeah.
my big collab day. So that's my GI Joe collab
Uh,
day that we generally post. But yeah, I'm back on Instagram. Instagram has released the reins for whatever reason. I was suppressed for the past month, but now I'm able to do the things I could normally do. I did have to create a second account, and I think that account is going to be more focused on maybe 1/18th or B sides of some of the stuff that I haven't been able to post, because I have about 200 pictures that I've not posted yet that I've taken that I think are pretty decent. But then my main account will be for all the collabs and my daily posts that I normally do.
and the
And
links are in the description of the video, folks. At
ah,
least they
thank
should be.
thank you very much. And one of my coworkers wants me to start doing a podcast with him,
Oh,
about our
that'll be cool.
profession. We'll see. Me being put out there on the professional scale is a little bit different than me, stating my opinions and doing that kind of stuff for
Yeah,
fun and toys.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so I have to see about some stuff with that, but I think we might be doing that at least in an audio format, um, talking about some stuff about that. So I'm
Interesting.
becoming more public, as they
Yeah, there
say.
you go. You know what? It's a surreal moment. It really is.
Yeah.
The minute you put yourself out there, it's like, what did I just do? But I do it every week now, so it's like, hey, wait, why not? I do it a couple times a week now, which is even worse, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then before you know it, you'll be on every day.
no, mm-mm, not happening. I don't have the time or the patience to do that. The twice a week is stretching it.
Yeah.
Maybe three times because next week will be three times because I will be. I don't know when they're going to air it, but I know I'm going to be on the podcast from the pit with Casey and Hillbilly.
Okay.
We're recording Thursday night. Um, I'm not sure if he's going to go live or if it's just going to be a record and play it on Sunday or Saturday when they normally do their show.
Yeah.
Um, and then I've got my normal show on Friday, which let's see, the 16th. Speaking of that, this gentleman will be joining me
All
next
right.
Friday. We're going to
Awesome.
be working on customs or dios. Either one is fine, whatever he wants to work on. I will be
Awesome.
working on one or the other myself, so whatever works for him. And then the following week, I will have Travis Moody from A Toy Kind of Mood.
Mood rack.
So yeah, we will be yeah, we'll be doing something. We'll be having a chat.
Awesome. Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what I got. And then of course every Saturday, Oz is taking the month off from
Okay.
streaming, or at least that's what he says. We'll see. So I will be taking over for the weekend get together. I will be going till midnight, and then I have to go to sleep because I got to get up and deal with my
Right.
son. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then from midnight on will be Action Figs. It'll be on Ed's channel.
Yeah. Ed.
So,
Okay. Nice.
so we're giving everybody a little heads up. The clubhouse will start at me, and I'm sure there'll be everybody streaming it to their other stuff, and then at least tomorrow. Now, I don't know about the rest of the Saturdays, but we'll see where it goes. Just kind of depends. But other than that, everyone, I hope you had a good time. And those of you that are checking it out on repo, thank you for sticking with us. I appreciate it immensely. Don't forget to hit the like. And if you can be anything, be kind.